A look at Berlin and Katowice through the lens of the creative class, Part 3. Community and the creative class. Berlin is nothing short of a mecca for artists and culture. It has anywhere from 300 to 400 galleries throughout the city. It supports a range of cultural expression that knows no bounds, including the law. Dispensing custom tips of spray paint canisters, Berlin is home to a world-famous graffiti scene. Its most favorite graduate goes by the name Banksy. Berlin has always been a vibrant place due to its many cultural influences over the centuries, and even during the Cold War. David Bowie is quoted in an interview with Expedia as saying, "the greatest cultural extravaganza that one could imagine." Speaking of the years he spent living in Berlin with roommate Iggy Pop, Bowie reportedly used to wander the streets at night for inspiration and penned his iconic classic, Heroes, there. Berlin is a city that runs 24/7. It has to be. Creative genius knows no clock and often drives people to work long hours into the night. These people still require the service class to feed them and provide them with venues for congregation and contemplation. That's why the 24-hour coffee shop has Wi-Fi. The creative class is drawn to large cities and regions that offer and support a variety of economic opportunities, stimulating environments, and amenities for every possible lifestyle. Berlin also has a thriving gay scene. Not only is the mayor an openly gay man, but there is a large community of gay and lesbian people that predate reunification. Germany also recognizes the rights of gay union. Poland does not, nor does the political climate suggest it's going to happen anytime soon. Florida's research draws strong parallels between the creative and gay indices. He says that the presence of a thriving gay community is synonymous with diversity in general because gays represent the last vestiges of bigotry and intolerance in contemporary culture. Essentially, if a community accepts gays, it will accept anyone, goes the rationale. Imagine the village people acting as the vanguard of the meek geek. Speaking of macho men, while in Berlin I met up with my good friend Alex Dewar and his husband Dickie Dew, short for Richard of course. Alex and Dickie personify the creative class. Last year on a trip to Europe they passed through Berlin and fell in love with the city. When Alex finished architecture school at the University of Calgary, the two sold their loft on Main Street in Vancouver and moved to Friedrichshain in Berlin's trendy southeast. Dickie is a well-known DJ in a particular scene and had no problem finding regular work. As Florida suggests, the decision to move to Berlin was made, and through networks, work was found. Since I last saw them, Alex too has found work in a small but interesting architectural firm. Another success story of the creative class. There is, of course, culture in Katowice. They possess the SOBs of culture, which, of course, stand for the symphony, opera, and ballet. The kind of highbrow culture that defined the well-heeled people of the last century and centuries before. Passive in nature and as dogmatic as it comes, these stuffy big-ticket items are of little interest to the creative class. Professional sports and the passive spectacle they provide are not even on their radar, says Florida. He relegates the fascination with spectator sports to the service and manufacturing class, citing the need to be a part of something and the opportunity to play armchair quarterback and display a knowledge that passes, at least in living rooms and bars, as expert. Florida calls out directly the development model that Katowice is pursuing. He believes that spending hundreds of millions, if not billions, on sports stadiums, cultural districts, and giant retail malls does nothing to attract the creative class. Rather, they are repelled by the entertainment machines and the city that is built for the simple consumer. Florida believes that Katowice is chasing its tail by trying to lure companies in creating R&D parks, office complexes, technology incubators based on what is quintessentially an American suburban model. they are essentially betting their economic future on an economic development model of the past. Companies and sports teams, they can essentially pull out at any time they want. Universities, parks, a well-supported art scene, those investments last and will pay much larger dividends in the long run. More participatory pastimes are what the creative class are looking for, where it's hard to draw the line between participant and observer, or between creativity and its creator. People are looking to engage physically or mentally. During Florida's research, not a single person even mentioned a professional sports team when talking about what they were looking for in a prospective community. A city's culture is no longer defined by what happens in its pricey concert halls or in a sports stadium. It's about the nightlife, the music and art scene, outdoor recreation and great food. These people aren't content to wait for the weekend to enjoy themselves. It's not that they need to do all of these things all of the time, but they want the option to do it when they feel like it. Places outside of work and home are becoming all the more important in a culture that is waiting longer to settle down. Singles require a social scene more so than couples, and both couples and singles, without the tethers of children, can enjoy the bounty of a thriving social scene and continue to make connections and network with other creative types. Florida says that since people live so close together in small private spaces, the street provides the venue for more or less continuous conversation and interaction, kept alive by frequent random collisions of people and ideas. In Berlin, culture is played out on certain streets, full of bustling pedestrians and spilling storefronts. These landscapes are not created by a single actor or event, no matter the size or quality. It is the result of an organic process playing out in an environment conducive to its growth and fed by its participants. In this way, each individual actor, in some small part, contributes to the culture so long as they are engaged in its production or support. The more activity, the more unique the character. The more authentic the experience, the more attractive it becomes to other creative people. It is the dialectic of the street, coming together, sharing, and moving on. That is what stimulates the creative spirit. This is a low or no barrier experience. Anyone can walk up, no dress code, no ticket necessary. It is this agglomeration that lures the creative class and triggers the economic growth that Dr. Florida's clients crave. Paradoxically, it is this growth that will be the undoing of the vibrant street culture that spawned it in the first place, inevitably becoming a victim of its own success. Thus, the creative class's constant pursuit and destruction of the fleeting, authentic experience. No cityscape is static. The 23 boroughs of Berlin all have different character and feel, developed over hundreds of years in successive waves of migration and building. Berlin has a cultural and ethnic diverse makeup. National statistics say that 470,000, or 13.9% of the population, are of foreign nationality, and a further 394,000, or 11.7%, are descended from international migrants or have become naturalized. Waves of migration from different countries have left a permanent impression on the faces of Berlin. Berlin is also home to the largest Turkish population outside of Turkey, the result of a guest worker program from decades ago. Meanwhile, Poland is a picture of homogeneity, with over 98% of Poles citing Polish as their mother tongue. Those left over can be accounted for by the historic shift of borders with her neighbors. Ethnic diversity adds to a lively and vibrant street culture and is central to a good city. Bustling cafes and restaurants, art galleries of every size and shape, specialty stores and little boutiques, the vast majority of which were original one-offs. Businesses owned and operated by the people who thought them up. These people have all left the security of big business and corporations and stuck it out on their own. These one-off, funky businesses inspire creativity in those who visit them and work in them, where they are more likely to be themselves and expressive. Chain stores and restaurants revel in their conformity and stamp out creativity in those who must suffer them. In Berlin, there is a lively squatter community called Katowice, located in a bombed-out relic of the Second World War. Eric Westervelt of NPR laments, "It may be at risk of becoming just another tourist attraction in an increasingly gentrified urban area, a memento of a once ruckus alternative art scene." There is currently a struggle over the land that the artist colony occupies, as the rightful landowners who would like to put up luxury condos. Florida quotes the Madonna of modern urban thought, Jane Jacobs, many times throughout the book, and Florida agrees that sometimes you have to squelch the squelchers, as she says, meaning, of course, you've got to stand up and fight. Some lament the loss of social capital in these kinds of neighborhoods, like Robert Putnam, who showed that areas that have high creative class content have less trust, less faith, less volunteering, less voting, fewer clubs. By that I think he's referring to Rotary clubs or the Shriners. The two areas creative class tend to excel at are diversity of friendship and political protest. They take their protesting very seriously in Berlin. At least the good people of, in this case, Kreuzberg, have the good courtesy to forewarn the police. This festival of sorts is held every year on May 1st, otherwise known as May Day. I wonder if the double entendre translates in German. These riots are the dark side of freedom of expression, though perhaps they're a sign of hope that Berlin will be able to retain some of that edgy counterculture authenticity in its landscape, which is increasingly dominated by higher-end retail.